Welcome back to another episode of r/Am I the Asshole? Titles are on the screen and let's get into it with an Am I the Asshole? This guy I was making out with at a bar totally ignored me after I said I was dating someone. So I'm in an open relationship. I went to a gay bar tonight for the first time in a long time. I met this guy, we talked a lot. We made out a lot. I talked to his friends, we made merry. About 2 hours in, I happened to mention I was dating someone. I didn't even get a chance to say it was an open relationship. He walked out away from me like he never met me. He literally blanked me after making out with me heavily for 2 hours. He left me sitting there at a bar. His friends were like, nice to have met you, and I walked out. This just happened. Mind you, he never asked me if I was seeing someone during the entire time we were making out. Am I the asshole? I want to say yes, you are the asshole. Like, there's nothing wrong with being in an open relationship, but that is a deal breaker for some people. Just like I'm sure if you weren't already seeing someone being in a monogamous, like someone being with someone who's monogamous would probably be a deal breaker for you. And that's totally fine. But it is something you should probably mention straight away so that people can make an informed decision. Obviously, this person is monogamous. They weren't interested in being with someone who is with someone at all. You know, no questions asked. That's why they didn't bother to hear you out or anything like that. Like, that is something that you need to be upfront with. And yes, I would say you're the asshole for not being upfront with them. And the next one is, am I the asshole for saying that gifts brought as a graduation gift was paid for solely by me? My friend invited us to a graduation party, and my other friend and I didn't want to go without bringing a gift. I wanted to buy something from $10 to $20, but my friend kept insisting and pressuring me to buy something worth $40 simply because it was in my budget. I bought it because she got upset that we didn't have enough 2 gifts. When we got to the party, I presented the gifts saying I got them for her instead of we got them for her. My friend got her one thing worth $10. Well, that made very little sense, but I'm assuming that they said in that mess that her friend pressured her to buy a gift worth $40 and then didn't give her any money for it. That's what I'm guessing, like, and then wanted her to say that they both got it. From what I can understand, I don't think you're the asshole, because it's like a massive pet peeve of mine. People being like, yeah, I'll go Harvey's and a gift for you, and then they never give you the money. Like, it drives me insane. So unless I have the money up front before the party, your name ain't going on it. Like, that's just how it is. If I'm covering that money, then it's from me, because it is. Yeah, that was a confusing one. Sorry for doing that one. I really should read these before I before I start recording. The next one is, am I the asshole for refusing to pay a debt collector money that I owe them? So a while back I had a couple of $1,000s on a credit card and I couldn't make the payments after losing my job. Eventually they sold the debt to some debt collector. The debt collectors obviously tried to contact me, but I pretty much just ignored them. If they managed to get me on the phone, I hung up when I realized who it was. I was broke and frankly I didn't give a shit about them losing money on this. Anyway, eventually they sued me. I didn't bother going to court because I didn't have a defense and I figured there was no difference between a default judgment and the judge ruling against me in person. Anyway, I am now in a financial position where I could pay off the judgment fairly quickly if I wanted to, but I'm not going to do that. I would rather just keep it. I give zero shits if that means that some debt collection company is out the money, and they knew it was a high risk investment when they bought the debt. Oh well. As far as I'm aware, they would need to know where I bank to get money that way. I'm not too worried about that, and I work as an independent contractor. I'm pretty sure they can't garnish those earnings. Anyway, they'll never get a dime of my money unless they find a way to take it against my will. Am I the asshole because of this? Yes, I do think you're an asshole for this. I mean, you spent the money, you got goods or services for the money that you owe. The fair thing to do would at least pay off what they paid for it. Like, you don't have to let them earn a profit off your debt, but the responsible thing would be at least pay something. And not that it's the worst thing in the world to evade a debt collector until it gets marked off your record. I just think it's extremely irresponsible, and yeah, you're a bit of an asshole for doing it. But yeah, it's not the end of the world unless you actually care about your credit rating, then it's going to fuck it up. But I doubt OP actually cares about his credit rating. It's probably ready to shit with how he's got a judgment against him. But yeah. And the next one is, am I the asshole for yelling at my brother-in-law at my wife's father's funeral? Just as backstory, my wife and her sister do not get along and are not close. They never have been. Her sister spreads lies about the family and basically hates everyone and talks shit constantly. Her sister used to threaten to kill her as a teenager and openly admitted that she was mad when my wife was born. My wife is 6 years younger than her sister. Unfortunately, their dad passed away and we were obligated to meet with my wife's sister and her husband at the funeral. I noticed my brother-in-law never said a word to my wife and was intentionally avoiding her. He was not like that before, but over the years, her sister manipulated him into not liking my wife. It made me upset that my brother-in-law was ignoring my wife. The dad's death was traumatic. After the service, we all went to lunch, and during the lunch, my wife seemed sad and had mentioned to me in the car that she noticed he was ignoring her and thought it was rude that he didn't acknowledge either me or her. During the lunch, as we were eating, I confronted my brother-in-law in front of the entire family and asked why he was ignoring my wife. He got defensive and said I was an asshole and caused a big scene to a point where we had to be separated and sat at different tables. Her sister also got involved and began cursing in front of about 50 people who attended the service. He also ignored us the rest of the time and left after lunch and never said a word to us. So am I the asshole for confronting her rude brother-in-law? I mean, I think he was being more of an adult than you two were. It doesn't, sure, it might be a bit annoying if someone's ignoring you, but I would rather someone ignore me at a funeral than cause a scene like that. You just made the whole wake about you and your wife and not about their dad, who it should have been about. That is just the most assholery thing you could do. You could have maybe sent a message afterwards being like, hey, we didn't appreciate that you just completely ignored us or something like that if you wanted to talk about it. But making a scene, and you knew it was going to cause a scene. You wouldn't have asked. No one would reply to that. It's they're ignoring you. They're not going to be like, oh, sorry, we were ignoring you. We'll talk to you now. That's just not how people work. Yes, you're an asshole. And the last one is, am I the asshole for not buying a sick man some gasoline to get home? Last night I went to a gas station to fill up. A man called me over. He was in his car. It had disability plates on it. He had a breathing tube in his nose. He told me he was just discharged from the hospital. He had just had surgery and lifted his shirt to show me the surgical scars. He went on about a $3,000 bill to the hospital and he had no money and he needed to go back in a few days. He asked if I would buy him gas, but I declined because I don't trust panhandlers, and in the back of my mind, this could have been an elaborate ruse. I don't think there's any assholes in this situation, provided the guy wasn't scamming you. But would it really have broken the bank to just give him $5 in fuel? And you could have been like, I can afford to give you $5 worth of fuel, have the guy put the $5 in his car and then go pay for it, so that at least you knew it was being spent on fuel. But no, I don't think you're an asshole. It's your money, it's not, you're not obligated to give anybody money. It doesn't matter what their situation is. But also, he's not an asshole for asking for money if his story is accurate. If it was panhandling and it was a lie, then yes, he's an asshole. But based on the fact that he had fresh surgical scars and the oxygen tube and stuff like that, I don't think he's an asshole for asking. And that is it for today's video. I may have a lurk on Reddit and see if I see anything else worth covering and maybe give you a second video for today. Who knows? In Australia, it is the Queen's birthday long weekend. So anyone listening in Australia, I hope you have a great long weekend and extra day off tomorrow. Or if you're like me, getting paid that delicious, delicious overtime. I will see you in the next one. Oh, if you can, please subscribe and hit the like button. And yeah, have a great weekend, guys.